Prey for the North Stars. On the left, the Blackhawks, Murray, Bannerman.
And Bannerman starting in spite of the fact that Sauvé had that great game in Long Island last night, but both of these guys have really shouldered the load. There was very little competition in training camp apparently this year, and some people feel that that was one of the reasons for the slow start. There wasn't that real spirited intensity that you have to have at the beginning of the season to get rolling.
Youngster Scott Bukestad. Now Broughton, a little center, breaking in. He fakes, gets behind the goal, and Bannerman stops his sliding centering pass by Brian Bellows. And taken into the board. Centering effort, a shot. Marouk robbed by Bannerman. Dennis Marouk had a marvelous scoring opportunity.
Here's Kent Nilsson sliding it out to Marouk. And it might look like an innocent pass, but there was a hawk between Marouk and Kent Nilsson. The play is cleared to the side. Kent
Defenseman who played on the U.S. Olympic team in 1980 has really matured the last few years. Secord, a shot, and Beaupre the save. It looked like that rising shot, Bill Clement.
Move his neck out of the way. You can see Secord, the deep slot, perfect place to shoot from. Gets it up.
And Broughton, bumped by Bergevin, chasing his own pass. Troy Murray cutting in. He shoots. Oh, he scores! Beaupre made the initial save.
And then actually hooked the puck into the net himself, pulling his stick back. Troy Murray, considered the best two-way player by his coaching staff. He was hulking up to move in. You could tell he wanted to cut in front. Blew around Giles. Didn't get much wood on it, but it was enough when Beaupre helped it to get into the net. Having a wonderful year for the Blackhawks. Troy Murray usually has to play against the top line of the other team.
The Hawks have outshot Minnesota 7-3. Now Bergevin and Flett get into it at the penalty bench, and play is stopped. Bergevin and Willie Flett.
Bergevin got Willie Flett's sweater over his head when the whole thing started, and it kind of puts you at a disadvantage when you can't see what you're punching at. But believe it or not, I've seen guys do pretty well in fights even with their sweaters over their heads. You can still see Willie with his sweater over his head.
Little late shot there from Willie Flett. Well, Bergevin and Flett are broken up. Hawks lead by a goal. Which is Tony McKegney, but Acton brings it out. He's got Graham with him, and McKegney. Here's Graham. And Bannerman makes the save. And that one from Dirk Graham almost beat Murray Bannerman. Now Keith Acton mixing it up.
And you can see at the top of your screen Ben Wilson grabbing Ed Hospodar right at the top of your screen. Those are the two tough guys on the ice right now.
Acton getting together initially with Jerome Dupont, and Dupont, a player, number 25, who is prone to mix it up.
They have to watch out for the diagonal pass going through the box, as Savard just did. That's what they have to guard against. If they can keep them on the outside, they can kill this penalty.
That's a typical play the Hawks use to get the puck to Steve Larmer. Deflection, they score! In front, Denis Savard. Oh, what a play!
Well, I think Don Beaupre is arguing that Savard may have directed the puck in with his skate. We'll take a look at it. Denis Savard is in front with Kurt Giles in the center of your screen, and I think Keith Brown, well, it almost looked as if Denis Savard actually did not kick it in, but angled it into the net. And if you change the direction of the puck with your skate with the intention of scoring, it should be disallowed, but it's a tough play to call. It happened so quickly.
Bob Murray keeps the puck in. Onto the stick of Savard. Look at the moves. Steve Larmer hits the post. Steve Larmer hit the post on a marvelous setup. Then Cicerelli dumped from behind, a penalty, and the save on Bellows by Bannerman, and we have end-to-end action. Half a minute to go in the two-man advantage for Minnesota. They trail the Blackhawks 2-0. In front, the deflection. Bukestad couldn't get it in the first time, but he does on the second effort. And Scott Bukestad now has 16 goals in his last 14 games, and it is 2-1 Chicago.
Simply a numbers game in front, Ken. The old way to kill a penalty when you were two men short used to be have one man high watching the two-point man and two defenders back by the net. Today, 2 defenders work up high and 1 back by the net. There's Ben Wilson by himself. You can see 2 North Stars. Troy Murray's moving back in to help, but can't get to Bukestad in time. And it's simply a manpower situation with the North Stars outnumbering the Blackhawks.
Savard is one of the best in the league at that. And the fans here expect a penalty. 2-on-1. Flett from McKegney. Back to McKegney. And Bannerman comes up with another brilliant save as the siren sounds to bring an exciting end to the first 20 minutes of play.
In spite of the fact the Blackhawks are leading 2-1, Minnesota's been pretty tight in their end, and the Hawks really haven't been able to sustain that action in there.
Bellows steals to Dirk Graham, and the save by Bannerman as Dirk Graham, the longtime minor leaguer who has exploded on the scene here in the NHL, had a fine chance to score. Puck in does for Minnesota. They trail 2-1. Both teams at full strength. Bukestad a shot, hits a body in front of Bannerman. Here's Yaremchuk, who has all that speed, pulling away from Broughton. It's 3-on-2. The shot, the save, the rebound, and Watson shoots it wide.
And people watching this action.
Broughton up front, centering Bukestad and Cicerelli at one point. Nielsen, he has the puck. Hartsburg's at the other point. Here's Kent Nielsen, the shifty playmaker. His shot, Bannerman the save, and they score. Cicerelli was right out in front. I'm not sure if it went in off Cicerelli or it was initially Nielsen's shot, but it's tied at 2.
It sure was Nielsen's shot, but you could see Dino Cicerelli pointing at Kent Nielsen right after the goal. Here's a look at it from overhead. Nielsen sees Cicerelli right in the middle of your screen now, and trust me when I tell you that Kent Nielsen was not shooting the puck on goal. He was shooting the puck on Dino Cicerelli's stick. Kent Nielsen had his head up when he shot the puck and is one of the few guys capable of lifting his head up and slapping the puck without looking down at it. Dino Cicerelli acknowledged him right after the goal. A nice tribute to Kent Nielsen. He pointed right at him and said, "That was your goal," in the sense that it was a gimme almost. All he had to do was get a stick on the ice and deflect it towards Murray Bannerman.
The score is 2-2. 1:20 left in the power play. Olczyk shoots, and throwing out his leg to make the save is Don Beaupre.
Definitely back-to-back brilliant plays. The first by Ed Olczyk when he danced out in front. I cannot believe that he is only 19 years old.
To close off that play, Savard. Look at this move. Look at him go around. Graham shovels it in front. Giles clears, and finally Langevin pulls the puck in with his left glove and smothers it. And Kerry Fraser right there eyeballing the play.
And he doesn't seem to have called a penalty, but Don Beaupre looked a little upset at the situation. Well, here he comes skating towards the penalty box now. We probably will have a penalty.
There is Graham, the 26-year-old, we mentioned earlier, a longtime minor leaguer. Finally gets to the big show. He played at Dallas, Fort Wayne, Toledo, Salt Lake City, and Springfield. And he spent quite a while in the International League when that wasn't exactly the place you wanted to be if you wanted a sure shot at the NHL. By Bannerman, as Graham's taken out, Ed Olczyk leads the charge for Chicago. Now the Hawks changing lines. Over to Steve Larmer. He can put it in. He scores! Steve Larmer, what a shot! Boy, did he feather that one.
A brilliant pass from Ed Olczyk and an equally brilliant play by Steve Larmer to move the puck to his backhand, go to the short side, and completely befuddle Don Beaupre. Here's Larmer. Watch him go to his backhand. And from that angle, from the angle we looked at it, the net looked very wide open. From Steve Larmer's angle, he probably had 6 to 8 inches, if that, to slip that puck in there on the backhand and also get it up high by Beaupre's pads and up around his shoulder.
Dino Cicerelli hands the punt right to Secord. Back to O'Callahan. And Langevin stands in the way. Savard steals the puck, lining up at center ice. Denis Savard, 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves. He scores!
Well, if you thought Steve Larmer's goal was brilliant, watch this goal. Denis Savard tiptoes through everyone, pulls the puck to his backhand. Virtually impossible for most players even to execute. Here it is from another angle. He moves in front to the backhand the way Larmer did and kicks that far corner, completely handcuffs Don Beaupre. After such a brilliant game to be beaten twice on goals like that, there was virtually nothing on either goal that Don Beaupre could have done to stop them. Sutter brothers, who is probably the consummate leader.
Here's Bill Gardner. Shot blocked by Marouk. Stealing, shooting, failing to score is Wayne Presley. Boy, when you get it like that, Bill Clement, your eyes bulge and you say, this is it. But when you don't get it, you kind of begin to wonder a little position defensively. 4-2 Blackhawks. Third period. Watson has Presley with him. Nice speed. Second chance. He scores! Wayne Presley. That's a sign of a player maturing. Has the opportunity initially, can't score. Second time, no mistake.
He makes a very pretty move for a young guy, but he is a scorer. They know he can score. Moves in on Beaupre. Simply slips it by him. And the fact that he was open, I think, is an indication that the North Stars had opened up. Most of their forwards, you can see them in the background, are standing out near the blue line. It actually looks as if he shot it between Beaupre's feet, but from that range, if you can pick a spot that isn't covered by the goaltender has no time, if any at all, to react to it.
Oh, you can just feel the little edge now. Secord had lost his glove, was caught well offside. Things are still hot and heavy at the stadium where Chicago leads Minnesota 5-2. Bill Clement, I mentioned things were still hot and heavy.
Well, you'd mentioned, Ken, that as we look at a replay, you can see that Al Secord is cut in the nose. You mentioned that he had lost his glove, and here's Hospodar taking exception to Al Secord. What had happened down in the corner was that Secord dropped both of his gloves and grabbed Craig Hartsburg from behind, and at the last minute decided not to throw a punch because Hartsburg was turned around with his back.
Since when does Jack O'Callahan help out Al Secord? Al Secord, one of the toughest players the NHL has seen in years. You would have thought he was 5'7", 140 pounds, the way Jack O'Callahan stepped in.
Well, it may be a sign of this Hawk team really coming together. You know, winning does something to a team. It draws you much closer together, and similarly, losing creates all kinds of rifts on a team. So
North Stars clear the zone. Blackhawks back at full strength. 5:08 remaining. Third period. Troy Murray's shot goes wide. Comes in front. Brown shoots and scores. Keith Brown.
As the train whistle sounds here in Chicago to celebrate the Hawks' 6th goal. You know, hockey boards around the rink can be your best friend and your worst enemy. And in this particular case, they were a friend of Keith Brown and an enemy of Don Beaupre. As the puck comes off the board, Beaupre misplays it. It took a funny bounce, and Keith Brown is Johnny on the spot. I think Beaupre thought it was going to kick right at him, and it kicked between him and the net. Keith Brown just happened to be cruising in. I don't think Keith Brown expected it to be there, but he sure put it away in a big hurry.
Anytime you see that goaltender turning around like that, it's like an infielder in baseball backing up on a ground ball. Trouble is usually the next item in the sequence. There'll be a penalty coming up here to Minnesota, as Secord was mixing it up in front with Chris Pryor. Bannerman goes to the bench, and finally the penalty is called. They had won 5 in a row coming in.
Here's a look at it. Al Secord moving in front to screen. Oh, it's Beaupre that takes the poke at him. And I think Al Secord misread who it was coming from. I'll tell you what.
I'm not so sure. I think he's sort of saying, give me a minute here. I've got other business now.
Yeah, exactly. He's moving in now.
That time Secord really wasn't right in the crease.
No, he wasn't dangerous at all, but that was just a perfect example. Well, Beaupre's actually out of the game, which is an indication that Fraser has assessed an intent to injure penalty and is asking that Beaupre be ejected of the game. He's gone, as you saw him going down the stairs, and that tells you how frustrated he was.
That'll bring out John Case.